Today, as you see, the epigram, that's a beautiful one among other epigrams we find in Savitri. It's Earth's winged chimeras are truth's steeds in heaven, the impossible, God's sign of things to be. So this is today's epigram, and along with it, we'll take up the whole passage. First we'll read the passage, then we'll take up 2 or 3 lines together at a time. Art's winged chimeras are truth's steeds in heaven, the impossible, God's sign of things to be. But few can look beyond the present state or overleap this matted hedge of sense. All that transpires on earth and all beyond are parts of an illimitable plan. The one keeps in his heart and knows alone. Our outward happenings have their seed within. And even this random fate that imitates chance, this mass of unintelligible results, are the dumb graph of truths that work unseen. The laws of the unknown create the known. The events that shape the appearance of our lives are a cipher of subliminal quiverings, which rarely we surprise or vaguely feel, are an outcome of suppressed realities that hardly rise into material day. They are born from the Spirit's sun of hidden powers, digging a tunnel through emergency. But who shall pierce into the cryptic gulf and learn what deep necessity of the soul determined casual deed and consequence? Absorbed in a routine of daily acts, our eyes are fixed on an external scene. We hear the crash of the wheels of circumstance and wonder at the hidden cause of things. Yet, a foreseeing knowledge might be ours if we could take our spirit stand within, if we could hear the muffled demon voice. So this is the passage we are taking up today. Now, this particular epigram, Earth's winged chimeras are truth's steeds in heaven, the impossible, God's sign of things to be. It's a very well-known epigram among others, as I said. And here, chimera. What is a chimera? We should first know. Chimera is an imaginary animal, creature in Greek mythology, having the head of a lion, the body of a goat, and the tail of a serpent. So it means anything that is fancied, but it seems to have no reality whatsoever. At least it seems. Now, many people on earth, they imagine things that are not real. And there is no end to these imaginations, and our constructions also take wings, wings and soar high in the realm of imaginations. We imagine so many things, lot of things, which doesn't seem to have any reality, at least to our eyes. But whatever said and done, uh, all these imaginations are not nonsense, and it all these should not be dismissed as such, that these are only imaginations and doesn't have any value at all. In fact, the mother says that every imagination is a distant reflection of something which takes place in some other plane, not here in this physical plane which is called earth, but somewhere else. And in fact, nothing can be imagined here on earth which is not there or which doesn't exist somewhere in some other planes of consciousness. We may not be knowing, but all these imaginations have something of its truth somewhere else. In fact, Sri Aurobindo also remarks here that what appears, this particular line, as we see this epigram, winged chimera, what appears to be winged chimeras on earth are vehicles of truth in heaven. Vehicles of truth, harbinger, or that something which carry the truth which is up there somewhere in the higher planes of consciousness, but which has got the potentiality to realize itself on earth here in future. So all these have lot of meanings, but only we do not have the capacity to see through. And all the things that are prepared on the higher planes of existence before actually realizing itself on earth come or portray as imaginations. I'll just give an analogy. Probably we all remember there were movies like that sci-fi movies, Star Wars and all. I have forgotten the name of the director now. Star Wars, then Close Encounters of the Third Kind or something like that. All those movies we used to see earlier. So just think for a while, how did the director, how could he conceive that those entity which have a body like a fluid body, lighted body, we have all seen in the movies, but how come he conceived it in the first place? There must be somewhere some kind of this thing, it percolates down from somewhere. He doesn't have in his head. So I think this is something to be pondered over. There are so many things like this. I'm just giving an example only. So these things can happen. So many things are things show up here as imaginations or coming to our mind, which have its roots somewhere else in other planes of consciousness. So all these things are there. Now, next he says, the impossible God's sign of things to be. What appears impossible at present on earth today are the things, are in fact indications or signs of things which are coming here on earth, will be taking place, of which we do not have any idea whatsoever. But in the same vein, what he says, just a moment. But few can look beyond the present state or overleap this matted haze of sense. In the same vein, he says, but we do not realize truth, because very few of us can look beyond our present state, which is engulfed or in which we are steeped in ignorance. We have limit what we see in our vision. So we cannot go beyond this fenced atmosphere. We cannot cross over beyond the sensory perception of things. And we are unable to overleap the haze of sense. All that transpires on earth and all beyond are parts of an illimitable plan the one keeps in his heart and knows alone. But we'll have to remember that nothing happens on earth by chance or as an accident. Everything that takes place here on earth is taking place somewhere else, and even on some other planes of existence, as a part of the vast plan. And that plan is kept hidden or concealed by the divine only, the supreme creator in his bosom. But he knows everything, the content of this whole plan, how is it going to take shape, when it will fructify finally on earth. But as for us, we do not know it, because first, to know that illimitable plan which the Supreme Creator has in his bosom, first we'll have to unite ourselves with him, with his consciousness. Then only we'll be able to know everything, including all these which we have just discussed, that things which show up here as imaginary things, which you take as imaginations, in fact, are someday in future going to realize themselves. And that is included in the whole plan of the divine, which he has given shape to. Our outward happenings have their seed within. And even this random fate that imitates chance, this mass of unintelligible results, are the dumb graph of truths that work unseen. Everything, whatever happens outwardly here, has something, in fact, it is an expression of what is taking place within us. It is the result of the within, working of results within, which reflects outwardly in all our happenings. And in fact, nothing is chance, as he says. It is all planned, and all happenings indicate the works of truths that are unseen. Even the apparently wayward things which we do not know about, all these things are precise recordings of workings there that are not visible to our physical eyes. The laws of the unknown create the known. Even the unknown has its own laws, which in this operation bring about all that is known. The unknown of which we are not aware belongs to divine, And since he knows everything, what is his plan, how he should effect all those things, he knows everything. And so what we know here in our physical plane is very limited, and whatever we do not know, all the unknown that belongs to the divine, finally there is a different law which works out there, and it finally percolates down on earth. In the absence of a full knowledge of these laws, we are unable to understand much about what is going to happen tomorrow. So, the events that shape the appearance of our lives are a cipher of subliminal quiverings, which rarely we surprise or vaguely feel, are an outcome of suppressed realities that hardly rise into material day. All the happenings that build up the seeing frontal personality of our lives, whatever happens outwardly, so far as we are concerned, all these have their origin within. They are transcriptions of something, of some movements in our subliminal, which is the inner sea, vast sea, as we discussed earlier. Last time also probably we discussed about, or the last one, previous one. So it is all the subliminal quiverings which finally gets translated into the outer world. And sometimes only, we rarely glimpse their movements, and we also feel sometimes vaguely, though, the outer events are the results of factors that are suppressed within, without giving them expression, and consequently emerge only fragmentarily in the outer physical life. We very rarely have those gleanings, or very rarely feel like that, but it happens sometimes. They are born from the spirit sun of hidden powers, digging a tunnel through emergency. These events are projections by the hidden powers of light of the spirit, forcing their way out under the pressure of urgency. In fact, what happens, you see, there are a lot of moments in our life when we see things or events happening in such a way as if everything seems to go on the wrong way, and there are chaotic conditions, the reason or meaning of which we are not able to make out. We do not see anything beyond the apparent things. Why does it happen? So many moments there are in our life. Sometimes it's a kind of an accident, sometimes some very untoward happening in our life which we wonder at, but do not have any clue why it has taken shape. But if only we take the spirit stand, normally it is well nigh impossible. Nobody can do that. But when someone comes to the path of yoga for a long time, goes through all those experiences, practices the do's and don'ts, having high aspiration, then gradually all those potent powers come up to the front and give the aspirant not only the views but also the reasons behind why all these happenings are, why these events have taken place in the first place. And sometimes it is the soul's pressure, the vehement pressure through which soul wants to effectuate something even through a situation which seems to be a turmoil, a sheer difficult situation. It might seem to be so for the person concerned or for other people also, but it has something else behind which the soul knows very well, and it gives pressures to the extent it is needed. Otherwise, the person concerned, the aspirant, would have to wait for so many long years or maybe even births together. That is why when someone comes to the path of yoga, there seems to be untoward, very, very untoward happenings, incidents which baffle the aspirant, and he thinks or she thinks that why has it taken place? Why is it me only that it happens? But as we know that when someone comes to the path of yoga, then experiences of so many births are brought together in one, even in one single life. That is why the pressure mounts up and it becomes inevitable for the person to seek more of divine's help and give himself or herself in the hands of the divine. And there seems to be no way out at all for him or her at that moment, because it is precisely the situation which has brought about by divine's working only. Otherwise, he or she wouldn't have sought it in the first place, to go through all these untoward incidents or experiences also. But it is inevitable, and that way it shortens the long route which would have taken maybe some 100 births, maybe more, who knows. So this way we crawl like children, and of course the divine hand is extended towards us, so that even when we falter in our path, even when we stumble, we fall, he is there to help us. Absorbed in a routine of daily acts, our eyes are fixed on an external scene. We hear the crash of the wheels of circumstance and wonder at the hidden cause of things. That is just what we discuss. Then what we find, yet finally he says, to sum it up, yet a foreseeing knowledge might be ours if we could take our spirit stand within, if we could hear the muffled demon voice. Finally he says that in spite of all these precarious situations in which we human beings live on earth, facing all the troubles and difficulties and finding no way out, even then, this higher knowledge which comes down from the divine might be ours. And through this, we can free ourselves from the clutch of ignorance in which we are always steeped. It is possible to get the knowledge that sees ahead. And if instead of standing always on the surface, which we do always, forgetting about the truth of our existence, which is deep within, in the indwelling spirit, that is the psychic being, it becomes totally different. So, to free ourselves from the clutch of ignorance, to rise above our consciousness, what we'll have to do? Take stand of the spirit, the psychic being within. And this is the reason for which all of us aspire in the first place for the psychicization of our whole being, when our mind, our emotions, likes, dislikes, preferences, all that stuff, the seat of which is the vital, and also the physical being, all these three domains, that all these three can come under the very reign of the spirit, that is the psyche. So he has suggested that step for us. So that is all actually at the fag end. Probably one or two of you have entered. In any case, we'll be getting it in the YouTube. But in future, my request is for you, if you can kindly schedule your time in such a way that we can just, all of us can get together before 7 o'clock on Tuesday, and maybe you can change the day also sometime. So that's it for the day. If you have something, you can ask, or you can close the session, please. Okay, then if you don't have anything, we'll have our next session. Jai Ma.